10 slides, you got 20 minutes, use 30 size font, not smaller, not complicated. Purpose of this investor presentation is what? If you forget, what's the purpose of the first date? Not what you think. Purpose of this first date is to get the second date. That's the only purpose of the first date. It has no other purpose. Same thing here. The purpose of the first investor presentation is to get the second presentation, meaning you just have to communicate just enough to intrigue them. They want to connect with, want to meet with you more. So it's not a time to show your full scientific breakthrough, all the charts and graphs, and so they're absolutely convinced that you know this. No. It's just enough and pull back, so they want to lean in. You lean back, then you lean in. It's the whole game. If you can't remember any of this, it's just like dating. Exactly the same rules apply. Okay, so you're going through blah blah thing. You know, the market size, the unmet need, the team, blah and blah and blah. What are investors hearing? They're not hearing that. They don't care about that. They're hearing only three things. Is there money to be made here? Are these the goofballs who can make me this money? And how much money will I make? So everything has to translate in those three things in their minds. So remember that and present it so they can compute those three things, because the only things they care about. They don't care about this new breakthrough cloud-based technology with extra long legs. Who cares? Is there money to be made? And how big is the market? So all the thing has to be with that in mind. All right, let's look at the 10 slides. So this is the 10 slide, the topic you must cover. This is slide 0. There's nothing here to distract them, but allows them to open the right compartment of the brain so the words will go in. Then you start with team, because some people argue on this team should come in the beginning or later, and there's two schools of thought. I believe they want to know who are they talking to. Because if I found out that this guy ran this company and this guy worked at Bell Labs, this guy has a Nobel Prize, I'm going to listen very differently from the get-go. So who the team is, what they have relevance is, and you have any holes in the team, you show some advisors who fill the holes. Like I'm doing a company, and right now my current company, the IoT company, I'm doing telesense. It's all about commercial building, remote management, environmental monitoring. So we have people in hardware and software and whatnot, but we don't know jack about commercial buildings. But if I have somebody on my advisory board who's a vice president at Broadman and Koff, or Koff, whatever the company is, Kaufman and Broad, then it looks like at least we know something about commercial building. So this is where you fill the holes in your team by showing people who may have skills or knowledge where you lack. They don't have to be all in place. Then you talk about what is the unmet need. What did you discover, and how did you discover that there's a need which is not being well met by other people? This is when you want to do name dropping. You want to be able to convince them that you really have done your homework, you really understand. And normally, use case is a good way to show where the problem is. Just imagine use case. So in my last company, the remote security company, I used to say, imagine you're sitting in your office and you're accessing data and database and files and information, you're productive. The minute you leave your office to go to Starbucks or wherever, the only thing you can really access easily is email. What if you could access all the files and network like you, as if you're sitting at your desk? We make that possible. So this is a use case how somebody may be able to use that product to explain what it is. So use case is a good way to make people imagine what could it be. Then you want to figure out that which segment of the market are you trying to address. Sure, there are all kinds of people here. Like today we have this IoT platform. We do remote environmental monitoring. Sure, we can go after home market. We can go after commercial market. We can go after some existing market which is a heavy machinery is used. Who needs you more? So this is when you want to show insight, because showing that, yes, there may be big market, but what is your Normandy beach? How are you going to land? How have you established those people are more likely to open their wallets? And this is how big is that market? There's some new regulation, some new technology which is making it possible that there's a unique segment you can attack. Like today, because of Obamacare, it's a wide open market. All kind of people don't know, there's a lot of confusion what to do. Great time to start a business which can take advantage of the law and the holes and the things it creates. Your next slide is about your solution. So understand the market, understand the team, how are you solving it? So this is when you want to show a demo, you want to show some screenshot, you want to show a video, whatever, something to make their imagination come alive. They can imagine people using the product. This is when the gears click in. They can see how it could be used, then they get excited. If you don't catch them here, the gears don't click in, everything else after this doesn't, it's like, yeah, whatever. So this is the time you have identified a unique opportunity. You are uniquely qualified to address that opportunity. It's a big enough market, and you have a solution which could at least logically address it. That's the whole gist of why they should be here. Now remember, most entrepreneurs will exhaust their whole time allocation in these things. But wait, that's only 30% of your pitch. I've seen people spend 100% of the time on just these 4 things. This is only 30% of your pitch. This doesn't answer the question, how will I make money, how much money will I make? So this is where you want to talk about competition. What are the alternatives people have? Because we put a man on the moon without your product, so world is rotating still. So what is the unmet need? Who's your competition? How are they doing it? And the worst thing can happen, by the way, is they listen to your pitch, they go back and they type in some Google it for 2 minutes, and competitor's name pop up, which you never mentioned. You're toast. You're much smarter off mentioning and putting them in a box in a corner which are not relevant and why, than not mentioning them. Many times when you're presenting them, they're actually Googling in real time. Then you want to talk about any unfair advantage you have. Why you? Because the question you need to answer is why us and why now? Whether explicitly or implicitly. Why us and why now? Hopefully the team slide answers why us. Maybe this slide can answer why now. So some special alliance. Your brother-in-law works at Kaiser and he's head of IT. Okay, well that's unfair advantage. Yeah, let's mention that. That's good. Or you something else, some unfair advantage, or you already have developed a relationship. You signed an agreement with this Japanese camera maker. Okay, that's an unfair advantage. So any unfair advantage allows them to see you in a different light. Now is the time to mention that. Next slide is positioning. How will you appear differently vis-a-vis your competitors? What are the axes which make you stand out? So simple example I give is if you're, let's take some very commodity example, all of you know. Let's say Toyota, you're selling Toyotas. None of you will be selling Toyotas, but let's just say, so you may choose the axes, total cost of ownership is low, and maybe reliability. So you will stand out. But if you're selling Ferraris, you're going to look terrible on those axes. What will be your axes?
Price per unit.
Fun to drive, not fun to drive. Prestige, cool image. Because there's some subset of people who care about those axes. Your job is to show the axes and convince people there's a large enough market for those axes, people who care about that. But you get to pick the axes. Pick the axes which make your product stand out versus others, and then make the argument there's a big enough market for those kind of people who care about those axes. Business model is how do you make money? Who pays you? What does it cost? What is your customer acquisition cost? How much will be left per transaction? That's gross margin. Gross margin is how much is left in your pocket per transaction. Then you pay your rent, your salaries, and everything else. Then you have your net profit. Your gross profit has to be healthy. If your gross profit is terrible, it doesn't matter how efficiently you run your company, the net profit will be terrible. I mean, all of you can have a company by Christmas making $10 million in revenue. I can guarantee it. All you have to do is sell dollar bills for 98 cents. You will have a $10 million revenue, if not more. But is it a good business model? This is what they need to see. Do you understand what the gross margin is and how you're planning to sell? Is it a subscription? Is it affiliate fee? What channel are you going to use? So address those in this slide. Then you talk about your go-to-market strategy. How will you get your first 10 customers? Which segment of the market you're going after? How do you sell online? Do you have a network of distributors? Do you going to hire direct sales force? What alliances, partnership will push you in front of the right customer? Have you made any progress there? So if you're able to say, with this mobile security product, we have talked to Accenture, their mobile security group is very interested. We had a lunch with Larry Ferguson, and he is looking into it. Now you're much better than saying, I don't know, we're going to sell. Hey. Or we will do advertising, TV ads, and Google ads, and any other kind of ads. I've seen that presented all the time. This is the whole marketing strategy. We're going to do advertising, TV, and also Google ads. Like what? Like a 12-year-old can write that slide. Show me some insight that you have really understood the dynamics of your customer and how they buy. Where do they advertise? How will you get them? How will you convince them? Then your next slide is about your financial metrics. This is going to show the spreadsheet. Now, everybody knows that you have no clue what will be your expenses in year 5 or what's your revenue. But the fact that you've given it at least a couple days of thought and you've created a financial model allows you to say, if suppose you're doing something in internet, you can look at what was the growth rate of OpenTable, Yelp, and Angie's List. These are the companies that have gone public. So you can look up the information. And your numbers are it's like in between them. So you have a proxy. You can show that this is comparable to these companies already gone public. So, who's going to quibble, okay, if they went, it's believable. At least you have a proxy as compared to just making it up. So you want to be able to show that you have some clue, you have given us some thought. How much will you sell, what do you need? Because this is how you compute what you need. Otherwise, why should I open my checkbook if you haven't even done this much financial thinking? Not complicated, about half a day's worth of work, but shows what are you asking and why. So that's your 9th slide. Your last slide is your status and timeline. I would like to see look back 6 months. What have you done in the last 6 months? Look forward 18 months. What are the major milestones coming up? So this one slide allows you to capture all these things in one slide. That's a slide I like to use. It shows by quarter some of the key milestones, product development and customer acquisition, product launch date is visible, how much money you may need, number of employees you're planning to have. So this one slide captures several key data in a single page, which answers all those questions. So I've found investors respond very positively to a slide like that. So these are the 10 slides. You notice there are a lot more than just the first, what problem do we solve. That's good to maybe get this meeting, but this meeting covers these important 10 topics. So I have raised like $70 million in my life. I have raised money several times. It's not easy. It's complicated every single time. But you have to be able to convey this much information effectively for them to be able to believe in you and want to go forward.